The birthplace of the term trap itself takes us back into the history of southern rap and hip-hop culture of the early 2000s. Rappers like T.I. and Young Jeezy released projects that made trap mainstream with albums like T.I.'s Trap Music in 2003 and Jeezy's Trap or Die mixtape series, which started in 2005. Also, notable mention, Gucci Mane and his whole succession of rappers that came under him. But in the words of T.I., this ain't no album, this ain't no game, this a trap. Welcome to this Trap Tree High Design History episode where we're going to cover the city where the term trap originates from, as well as the inherent tie to trap music and the explosion of Atlanta's cultural influence on the rest of the country as a whole. Make sure to hit the like button, comment, share this, and follow me on all the socials. Links are down below in the description. This is LMC. Let's run it. Atlanta has been a hotspot for illicit trade in the southeast of the US for several decades. It's a prime location due to its highways and interstates, connecting it with many other major cities throughout the US, in addition to an international airport, Hartsfield, which is one of the busiest airports in the entire world, making it ideal for international intercontinental distribution. However, the years from 2000 to 2005 in particular reign as Atlanta's trafficking golden era, and that's mostly due to one man from one organization. Demetrius Big Meech Flannery and his brother Terry Southwest T. Flannery started trafficking at an early age back in their hometown of Detroit, Michigan. After moving to Atlanta, they were able to expand their operations across the country into leading trafficking hubs including LA, New York, and Miami. However, it would be Big Meech's branding and marketing strategies that would play a large role in the rise of BMF and its downfall. Big Meech took over the Atlanta hub while his brother Terry ventured out to LA. In Atlanta, Demetrius began hosting extravagant social events that were second to none. No expense was spared, with hundreds of thousands spent on food, drinks, and entertainment. These parties attracted celebrities ranging from chart-topping artists to professional athletes, including stars like Jeezy, Diddy, Shaq, Floyd Money Mayweather. However, these interactions weren't always cordial. An investigation at the Buckhead nightclub involved the passing of Diddy's childhood friend and bodyguard, Anthony Wolf Jones. The suspect, Big Meech himself, though claims have never been substantiated, it was suspected that the shootout had to do with Diddy owing BMF money. But we can't know for sure. On the street level, BMF hosted hip-hop mixtapes promoting up-and-coming rappers such as Young Jeezy. Authorities allege that Big Meech's hip-hop label was one of the ways BMF would clean their money. The FBI also investigated his possible involvement with an ongoing beef between ATL rappers Jeezy and Gucci Mane, where Gucci shot and eliminated a home intruder. Gucci's lawyer alleged that the intruder came from the BMF family, but no connection was made. According to rapper Blue Davinci, Gucci wanted to join BMF, but Meech turned him down for being a loose cannon and also a known robber. Davinci was the only rapper actually signed to BMF's label. Now, there were rumors this was the way that Big Meech had planned to transition into a fully legitimate business. However, as the brand gained more and more public spotlight through their extravagant parties and BMF branded products, which included the packaging of their illicit products as well, his brother Terry was beginning to see signs of their eventual demise. Now, the brothers were having a falling out. Terry in LA decided to part ways and start his own organization in fear that the party's open marketing would lead to their downfall. He didn't like them being so flashy, and believe me, they were very, very flashy. He pleaded with his brother over a 5-month period, unknowingly being wiretapped by the DEA, providing them with over 900 pages of documentation. They were eventually sentenced to 30 years each. Demetrius, or Big Meech, is scheduled to be released in 2028, while Terry was granted an early compassionate release to home confinement in May of 2020 due to his health complications. In recent years, according to a report by All Hip Hop, Big Meech has considered flipping the meaning of BMF from Black Mafia Family to Big Meech Flannery. Either way, BMF will live on in the history books of Atlanta and the trap. And also, side note, funny enough, Big Meech's son, Little Meech, is actually being managed by one of the owners of Gumbo. If you haven't seen the Gumbo documentary that I did on Alexis Major and Luka Brazi, go check that out. But just a little side note I wanted to, note. Now, with the legalization of flower in many states, rappers have the ability to jump directly into the industry even though they are from potentially an illegal state like Georgia. See, 2022 was the premiere of Lil Baby's Wham brand. Although Georgia's laws only allow low-level, Delta 8 products, he focused on building a product for the future, making Wham a product meant for modern recreational markets. It actually launched in, I believe, a limited time drop in LA. But this is meaning that you can't legally buy right in Atlanta at the moment, but that's likely going to change in the near future. Now, the late takeoff from the Migos also got into the game with Gumbo, like I mentioned, Gumbo earlier, and again, reaching beyond the borders of the ATL to get directly involved in the industry. Like I said, go check out my Gumbo video if you haven't already. The link will be in the description. And we see this with plenty of other rappers, right? Now, we've also seen some lower tier rappers that maybe haven't been, as popular, but have made a name through entrepreneurship in this emerging new industry. Young Marley is another ATL rapper who has capitalized on designer branding techniques with his Sharklato, flavor. A cross between gelato and Skittles. He had a platinum artist like Moneybagg Yo and Jadakiss shout out Sharklato in their songs, making it a social and a status symbol, especially when you have Yo dropping $1,000 for a zip on Sharklato in 2020 publicly. However, it hasn't been safe and sound for all of ATL's rappers, right? Gucci Mane's rapper Ralo was arrested at DeKalb Peachtree Airport after they discovered 440 pounds of flour, almost $1 million worth. The affidavit reported that Ralo was deeply tied to the Atlanta organization Farm America, which alleged him to have a leadership role within. He pleaded guilty to multiple felony charges, including conspiracy to possess with the intent to distribute at least a kilo of flour, possession of a firearm, and cleaning money. He was sentenced to 8 years, but was given 4 years credit for time served, with 1.5 off for good behavior. Now, his attorney is currently attempting to shave additional time off by getting him to complete his GED, which could release him this year in 2023. There also was a signed letter demanding his release by people like Drake and some other very, very big names. Now we'll have to wait, to see what happens with that. I hope we can see Ralo come home sooner than later. Now, still, the future of ATL's flour looks bright. With brands like Gashouse and Real One in the mix, Gashouse, a company run by two Georgia natives, Felix, Murry, and Kingston, have gone the similar route of some of ATL's rappers and partnering with other companies to launch their own brand. And on top of that, right, Kingston is himself a world-renowned grower, and Felix a world-renowned businessman, and together they, make a pretty good pair. I've also done a video on Gashouse if you want to go check that out. The link will be down below in the description as well. Now, like I said though, this partnership between Felix and Kingston, right, this includes a crossover with Cookies, where they secured their Miami location along with multiple promotional opportunities in California's market. Real One, a brand run by CEO JR the director, linked up outside of Georgia state lines with Jokes Up in Studio City, California at their 5-star rated ice cream dispensary. And big shouts out to JR the director. I talked to him recently the other day. Very nice guy. I'm excited to work with him here in the future. But anyways, see, Jokes Up as also happens to be in collaboration with Young Marley for a future deal not yet disclosed to the public. Now, however, with Jokes Up latest facilities and grow operation, I have high hopes that something good is going to come from that. The willingness of brands like Gashouse and Real One to immediately begin production with other companies outside of their own state should give them plenty of leverage going into the inevitable future of Georgia's legal market. Definitely look for them to be big players in the ATL in the upcoming years. They already kind of are, and they've kind of all worked together to help each other, which is super dope to see. And I actually cannot wait because I'm going to be actually traveling down to Atlanta in the next 2 to 3 months and linking up with a number of different people, including some of these brands, so very excited for that. Like I said, there's another video coming. It's going to be more of a documentary style rather than this kind of video essay style, but we'll talk more about that in the future. Though, because of the current restrictions on flower, the effect of legalization in other areas in the country, like my hometown of Seattle, which I dropped a video on last week, so go check that out if you haven't. The link will be down below in the description. But after legalization came a reverse green rush effect, leading smugglers to venture out west to bring discounted legal flower back into the ATL to sell at premium on the illicit market. And that could be done a number of different ways, whether it's sending it through the mail, and that's been really happening since pretty much the 90s or 80s. It's been happening for a while. Or the old-fashioned way, which has definitely been happening for far longer than, the 80s, probably 60s, 50s. You can't really know. Just driving it to Atlanta from Cali, right? But the thing about it, right? So Georgia Bureau of Investigations agent Ken Howard says, quote, "If you get safely out to Atlanta, you can mark that up to $3,000 or $5,000 a unit, a pound." He estimates that hundreds of thousands of units are coming in from legal markets such as California and Colorado, flooding the Atlanta market. And trust me, it absolutely is happening. Now, like I just mentioned earlier, whether they're sending it through the mail or they're driving it, there also is a third option, which is actually surprisingly common: utilizing private jets or chartering private planes to move boxes and boxes of units. Now, the GBI reported that there was 3 arrested trying to smuggle 100 units of flour through the Atlanta airport, and this would be a recurring trend that's been happening for a while now. We saw the same thing happen with Ralo, and on Super Bowl 53, right, there was definitely some inspiration for 4 Atlanta traffickers who had seen others, attempt to do this. And they were looking to capitalize on the influx of tourists for Super Bowl 53. They were already on law enforcement radar by the time they left Vegas with 200 units of flour. They made it to Hartsfield International Airport just days before Tom Brady's Patriots faced off against the Rams in 2019. Now, officials said it was one of the largest busts in the history of the airport. Another incident involving 174 units spread between 7 suitcases was from my hometown of Seattle. Sergeant Chase of Atlanta PD said that their canines alerted them to the belly of the plane as the luggage was being sent to baggage claim. He says there are several West Coast cities we've identified as being ones that will frequently see substances coming from, and Seattle is one of them, end quote. But it's not just the travelers, it's the airline employees that law enforcement has to look out for as well. Andre Mays, a TSA worker for Hartsfield, and Leslie Egger, a Delta airline employee, were caught in a sting operation that arranged for them to transport 2 kilos of illicit product in luggage they would carry past security and then on to New York. This was in exchange for $8,000. 2 more arrangements were made with fake product, eventually leading to charges from all 3 trades. And a similar case involving the same airline had the same system that caught 2 TSA agents and a Delta employee. Once again with 2 kilos, and once again utilizing fake product to add additional charges with future transactions, $4,000 up front with another $4,000 once the package was delivered in New York to the Delta employee. But what about the traditional organized crime? Well, not too long ago, after the Super Bowl bust that I mentioned earlier, the DEA has claimed that a major takedown of the Mexican Sinaloa cartel. This involved the arrest of 20 individuals, 15 of who were illegally there. They seized 30 pounds of flour in addition to over 100 kilos of M and H, plus 12,000 tablets, and have been attributed to the rise in, people passing away. Typically, these products were smuggled into Texas before making its final destination in Metro Atlanta. Part of the intervention came when DEA agents learned of a contract hit that was set out for a woman who owed the cartel thousands of dollars. By then, they had figured out the cartel's plans to harm and eliminate her down to the details of what rental property they were going to use. Luckily, they had enough information to move in before anything occurred. Now, in 2022-2023, the head of Atlanta's DEA, Robert Murphy, says in the 25 years he's been fighting illicit products, this is the worst he's ever seen it. Quote, "They want to hide in plain sight," end quote. They aren't driving around in exotic cars and dropping cash on luxuries. They live in the suburban subdivisions of Atlanta, places like Forest Park, where 600 keys of M and full conversion labs have been found, with neighbors saying things like, quote, "We didn't know, we just didn't know this was going on," end quote. Murphy says that there are up to 5 different cartels now operating in Atlanta, with him saying, quote, "Everybody thinks it's not in my neighborhood. The same thing that makes Atlanta attractive to Fortune 500 companies is the same thing that the Mexican cartel is looking for." Now, perhaps less of a surprise would be the discovery of trafficking beyond the streets of Atlanta and into the prison systems. Jessica Burnett, aka the Madam, was known for being a former prison guard who was caught with intent to distribute M and flour throughout the state prison system. She was a sergeant and a senior guard with Core Civis, a private prison company operating with Coffee County Correctional Facility. The Madam was one of 48 defendants in Operation Sandy Bottom, a sting that was carried out in an area known as, quote, the Bottoms, where the Gangster Disciple Street, group mainly operated. She was one of 2 prison guards indicted, both from Coffee County Correctional Facility. Now, lawmakers in 2019 finally decided it was time to take steps towards legalization by passing legislation allowing commercial businesses to start to finally cultivate indoors under close supervision. However, this was for only low-level amount in the plant, really just Delta 8, right? And the program only issued 6 licenses, so it's very, very limited. Now, this will do little to slow down any cartel or even any individual and the illicit smugglers looking to capitalize on a state where in most parts it's impossible to get legal quality flour. However, with the introduction of AI technology and predictive modeling, law enforcement is upgrading how they are fighting back against the illicit trade in hopes to identify patterns and trends by these illicit organizations. But because of that, Atlanta as a case study provides much insight into trafficking as we continue to monitor its transition into the illegal market and perhaps a recreational one. As an international hub for trafficking, it's honestly not gonna ever stop because of flour legalization, because it's not just what's coming in, but also what's going out. Sure, for now, high quality flour is in high demand with hardly any legal supply, but once that changes, we will see a drop in importing. But the exporting of this illicit substance through Atlanta's international airports, connected interstates, will likely remain an issue for some time to come. And that's where geography plays such a critical role. We'll see how things progress.
I love you, Bobby.
Anyways, I want to say big shouts out to everyone that's watching from Atlanta. I can't wait to be visiting, your guys' beautiful city coming up here pretty soon. Definitely do not hesitate to tap in with your boy. Send me an email, a DM, there's Twitter, all that stuff. Connect with me. Would love to hear your story potentially and just, see if there's any dope stories I could cover there. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this Trap Tree High Design History episode. Definitely make sure to go follow me on all the social medias, hit the like button, subscribe, comment down below. And if you like this video, then you're going to want to watch my other video, which is called The Smugglers of New York, History of Trapping in NYC next. You can find it at the end screen coming up here. Anyways, make sure to tap in with your boy. Really appreciate y'all. Follow me on all the socials, like I said. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. This is LMC signing out.